Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to include many different revelations that will lead to saga-wide implications in this story by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that by far, one of the most mysterious characters based within the sequel trilogy that met his demise was, of course, Supreme Leader Snoke himself. A lot of fans wanted to know more about his backstory, where he's been, and exactly who he really is, or was many years ago. Now, we do know that Episode 9 is going to touch on Snoke's backstory, as well as the origins of the First Order, which really is a good step in the right direction by Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this movie, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for Episode 9. Now, specifically, a description of Kylo Ren and his Knights of Ren, traveling to an abandoned Imperial base from decades ago, that is said to contain many secrets of Darth Sidious that were locked away by Palpatine before his death. It's described that Kylo and his Knights of Ren eventually reach Palpatine's vault, full of relics and artifacts, as well as personal logs and messages that Sidious left behind. It's said that one of the sequences involves a moment where Kylo Ren plays a hologram of Palpatine, where Sidious is talking about a dark side energy that he feels as a threat from the unknown regions, and that the forces he sent out to the unknown regions to locate this dark side energy is actually Snoke, where Palpatine is said to refer to him as the Shifter. It's said that Palpatine's forces informed Palpatine that Snoke went by the name of the Shifter during his time in the unknown regions, and that Palpatine called Snoke this name for many years before his death, and had great interest in his power. Additionally, it's described that J.J. Abrams chose the name for Snoke as the Shifter through Palpatine for a specific reason, that is said to change how fans view the character of Snoke, and that there is great meaning behind that name. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, we do know that this film is really going to be very important by Disney and Lucasfilm as companies, as well as for the Star Wars community, since this movie really does determine the future of the Star Wars franchise and exactly where this franchise is going to stand once the sequel trilogy has come to an end, before they move on to the new trilogy. So the character of Snoke, what's really great about him is, of course, how mysterious he is. We know little to nothing about this character, and it really mind-boggles me as to why Snoke is actually called the Shifter. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is that he is able to morph into different figures, or he is able to change his appearance at will. That's the first thing that really comes to mind. However, it could have something to do with Snoke being able to change the realities of people within their own minds, similar to what Snoke did to, of course, both Rey and Kylo Ren during their Force bond. It could very well be something like that. Now, we do know that Snoke, aka the Shifter, alright, that is actually said through the Palpatine hologram, is said to have been known over in the unknown regions. Palpatine had a dedicated force that went out to the unknown regions to discover exactly what this dark side energy really was. And it was Palpatine's forces that actually were able to find out that it was indeed Snoke who calls himself by the name of the Shifter. So, what I like about this is that this is somewhat similar to what we heard about in Star Wars Legends material. We heard about names very similar to this, and you can really see how Disney and Lucasfilm are cherry-picking from the expanded universe in order to really make this movie feel unique by using a lot of ideas from the EU, which may be a good or a bad thing. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to be executed on the big screen. Now, given that the unknown regions will be explored to a certain extent in this movie, a lot of fans are very excited to see what the unknown regions is really going to look like, right? You know, on film, we never got to see that region of the galaxy. We do know that it's a very dangerous part of the galaxy, and one of the main reasons as to why Snoke's First Order went undetected for so many years during its infancy is that he actually resided near these stars, where the radiation from those stars hid his location from his supremacy ship. So that's one great thing about, the canon material, is that it also dives a little bit into how Snoke was able to rise to power. But the thing that really gets me is that Palpatine is very much invested in discovering this dark side energy. That is, of course, Snoke / the Shifter, and Snoke is very interested in his power. Once again, another hint and or indicator that Snoke was Palpatine all along, at least only during the events of the sequel trilogy era. You know, we do know that Palpatine has a great interest in Snoke, and we also know that from what we have been learning is that Palpatine, toward the end of the original trilogy and even the beginning of the prequels, you know, he had this idea of trying to find a new host body or another way to live for, of course, forever, through eternal life. And we also know that they will be using the Spirit of Sidious in Episode 9. So with that being said, the name The Shifter is going to be explained in greater depth in this movie, and is going to change how we view the character of Snoke. Anyways guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.